The crystalline awakening. The wind howled across the desolate Arctic landscape, a relentless symphony of ice and isolation. Ezra Blackwood adjusted his thermal gear, his breath forming delicate crystals in the biting cold. The research station stood like a lone sentinel against the endless white backdrop, a testament to human determination in one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. Ezra was not like other glaciologists, where his colleagues saw ice as a scientific specimen. He saw a living, breathing entity with secrets buried deep within its frozen heart. His colleagues often joked that he was more at home in this frozen wilderness than in any human settlement. They weren't entirely wrong. The ground-penetrating radar chirped softly, its screen displaying a series of anomalous readings that had been haunting Ezra for weeks. Something lay beneath the ice, something that defied conventional understanding. The patterns were too precise, too deliberate to be a natural formation. "Dr. Blackwood," crackled the radio, "we're picking up some strange energy signatures from the western quadrant." Petra Lindholm, the station's chief technician, sounded more intrigued than concerned. She was the only other person who shared Ezra's curiosity about the mysterious readings. "I'm on my way," Ezra responded, his voice steady despite the excitement building within him. The snow crunched beneath his specialized Arctic exploration boots, each step calculated and precise. Years of experience had taught him that the Arctic was as dangerous as it was beautiful. One wrong move could mean the difference between discovery and disaster. As he approached the coordinates, the radar readings became more intense. The device began to emit a low, pulsating hum, almost like a heartbeat trapped within electronic circuits. Something was definitely not right. A slight depression in the ice caught his eye. It was barely perceptible, but to Ezra's trained eye, it stood out like a scar on the pristine landscape. He activated the thermal drill, a sophisticated piece of equipment designed to extract core samples without disturbing the surrounding ice structure. The drill hummed to life, its diamond-tipped head slowly penetrating the layers of compressed snow and ice. Each rotation brought them closer to whatever mysterious formation lay hidden beneath. "Petra," Ezra called into his radio, "are you seeing this?" "Affirmative," she responded, her voice a mix of scientific detachment and barely concealed excitement. "The energy readings are off the charts. Whatever is down there, it's not natural." 3 hours into the drilling, the bit suddenly stopped. Not because of resistance, but because it had encountered something entirely unexpected. A surface that was neither ice nor rock, something that seemed to absorb the drill's energy. "Impossible," Ezra muttered, his gloved hand tracing the outline of the strange material. The surface was smooth, almost translucent, with an iridescent quality that seemed to shift and change depending on the angle of light. It looked like a hybrid between crystal and some unknown metallic substance, pulsing with an inner light that seemed to breathe with a rhythm of its own. Petra's voice crackled through the radio again. "Ezra, the spectral analysis is coming through. You're not going to believe this." But before she could continue, the surface beneath Ezra's hand began to resonate. A low-frequency vibration started to build, causing the ice around him to tremble. Something ancient was awakening, something that had been waiting, hidden from human eyes for countless millennia. The crystalline structure began to glow, its inner light growing more intense with each passing second. Ezra knew, in that moment, that everything was about to change. Whatever lay beneath the ice was about to reveal itself, and humanity was completely unprepared for what was coming. Whispers of a forgotten civilization. The International Research Complex stood as a marvel of modern scientific collaboration. Glass and steel met cutting-edge technology, housing some of the world's most brilliant minds. Dr. Nora Rice stood before a holographic display, her dark eyes intense with concentration as she analyzed the artifact recovered from the Arctic expedition. The crystalline structure defied every known classification. It wasn't simply a material. It was almost like a living system, with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change under different wavelengths of light. Carbon dating was impossible. Spectral analysis returned results that made seasoned scientists question everything they thought they knew about matter and energy. This isn't just a discovery, Nora muttered to herself. This is a complete paradigm shift. Her colleague, Dr. Victor Rosenberg, approached with a steaming cup of coffee. The quantum physicist had been working alongside Nora, his typically reserved demeanor replaced by barely contained excitement. The lattice structure, Victor began, pointing to a complex holographic model. It's not just a random arrangement. There's a deliberate pattern here, almost like a language. Nora nodded. The artifact had arrived from the Arctic Research Station 3 weeks ago, carefully transported in a specialized containment unit that maintained its precise environmental conditions. Every attempt to study it had revealed new mysteries. Most intriguing were the periodic energy pulses. Like a heartbeat, the artifact would emit low-frequency vibrations at regular intervals. These weren't random. They followed a precise mathematical sequence that seemed to hint at an intelligence far beyond human understanding. "Look at this," Nora said, zooming in on a microscopic section of the artifact. Intricate geometric patterns emerge, more complex than any known molecular structure. These aren't random formations. This is deliberate design. The research team had already ruled out terrestrial origins. The material composition contained elements that didn't exist on the periodic table, at least, not in any way they could currently understand. It was as if the artifact was a message from somewhere beyond human comprehension. Dr. Rashid Khan, the team's lead spectral analyst, entered the laboratory. His normally calm demeanor was visibly shaken. "You need to see this," he said, handing Nora a tablet. The screen displayed a series of energy signature comparisons. What had started as a scientific investigation was rapidly turning into something far more profound. The artifact wasn't just a passive object. It was responding to their investigations, almost as if it was learning, adapting. "It's communicating," Victor whispered, his scientific skepticism momentarily replaced by pure wonder. Nora's mind raced. If this artifact was indeed a form of communication, what was it trying to say? And more importantly, who, or what, was trying to communicate? The research complex's security protocols were unlike anything seen before. Multiple layers of quantum encryption, electromagnetic shielding, and biological containment surrounded the artifact. Yet something about it felt like it could break through those barriers at any moment. As night fell, the artifact began to pulse more intensely. The holographic displays flickered, complex mathematical equations dancing across screens before dissolving into patterns that no human algorithm could decipher. Something was coming. Something that would challenge everything humanity understood about its place in the universe. And they were just beginning to listen. The quantum resonance. The quantum dynamics laboratory hummed with an electric intensity that went beyond mere technological anticipation. Zain Khalid stood before a massive quantum computing array, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe with living light. For weeks, the team had been attempting to decode the energy patterns of the Arctic artifact. What began as a scientific investigation had transformed into something far more complex. A conversation with an intelligence that defied conventional understanding. "Recalibrating quantum entanglement matrix," Zain muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. The massive quantum computer responded, millions of qubits shifting in patterns that would look like chaos to an untrained eye. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the laboratory's lead quantum engineer, watched the displays with a mixture of scientific skepticism and barely contained excitement. "The energy signatures are unlike anything we've ever seen," she observed. "It's as if the artifact is responding to our quantum probes, but not in any way we can predict." The breakthrough came unexpectedly. As Zain adjusted the quantum resonance parameters, the artifact, still contained in its high-security chamber, began to emit a series of complex light patterns. They weren't random. They were a sequence, a language of light and energy that seemed to transcend human comprehension. "It's communicating," Zain breathed, "but not through any medium we understand." The quantum computer began to translate, not in words, but in mathematical equations that sprawled across multiple screens. Complex geometric patterns emerged, revealing snippets of information that suggested something far more profound than a simple message, a historical record, a warning, a map. Elena leaned closer, her scientific training battling with a sense of overwhelming wonder. "These aren't just random energy patterns," she said. "This is a compressed information system more advanced than anything we've ever conceived." The artifact's chamber began to vibrate subtly. Quantum sensors detected fluctuations that defied the known laws of physics. It was as if the very fabric of reality was becoming more malleable, more responsive to the artifact's presence. Zane's personal communication device chirped. It was a message from Dr. Nora Rice at the International Research Complex. "We're seeing similar patterns here," her message read. "Something is about to happen." As if in response, the quantum computer suddenly projected a three-dimensional holographic map. It showed something impossible, a representation of spatial coordinates that extended far beyond Earth's known boundaries. Star systems unknown to human astronomical charts began to take shape, interconnected by lines of energy that pulsed with an inner light. "This isn't just a message," Zane realized, his voice trembling with a mixture of scientific excitement and primal fear. "This is an invitation." The laboratory fell silent. The quantum computer continued its translation, revealing fragments of a story that would challenge everything humanity believed about its place in the universe. Something ancient was awakening, and humanity was about to receive an invitation it could never have anticipated. Convergence of worlds. The global communication nexus sprawled across 3 floors of a fortified underground facility. Banks of servers, quantum communication arrays, and holographic displays created a symphony of technological marvel. Elena Volkov stood at the center of this technological hub, her fingers moving with practiced precision across multiple communication interfaces. Something was happening. Something global. Reports were flooding in from research stations, satellite networks, and observation points across the planet. The quantum artifact discovered in the Arctic was no longer just a scientific curiosity. It had become a global phenomenon. Electromagnetic interference detected across the Pacific Rim. A junior analyst called out. The holographic displays flickered, showing massive energy disruptions that defied conventional understanding. Elena studied the incoming data streams. The artifact's energy signatures were spreading, not through physical transmission, but through some form of quantum entanglement that scientists were struggling to comprehend. It was as if the artifact was establishing a network, connecting points across the globe with invisible threads of energy. Her communication device buzzed. A secure line from Dr. Zane Khalid at the Quantum Dynamics Laboratory. "We're seeing something unprecedented," his message read. "The artifact is creating a global communication matrix that operates beyond our current understanding of physics." Satellite imagery began to reveal strange phenomena. Areas around research facilities studying the artifact experienced subtle changes, electromagnetic fields shifting, communication frequencies altering, even slight gravitational anomalies detected by the most sensitive instruments. "Prepare Global Communication Protocol Alpha 9, Elena commanded, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what was unfolding. The communication nexus erupted into controlled chaos. Scientists, linguists, quantum physicists, and communication experts worked in perfect synchronization. They were attempting to do something never before attempted: establish a coherent communication channel with an intelligence that existed beyond human comprehension. A breakthrough came unexpectedly. As the team worked, a series of complex mathematical sequences began to emerge across global communication networks. It wasn't a hack or a system glitch. It was a message, or more accurately, a map. The sequences revealed something profound: coordinates that extended far beyond Earth's known boundaries, geometric patterns that suggested a language of pure information, and underlying it all, a sense of urgency that was impossible to ignore. "It's an invitation," Elena muttered, watching as the global communication network seemed to breathe with a new kind of intelligence. But an invitation to what? Her senior analyst, Dr. Marcus Weaver, approached with a look of both excitement and apprehension. The communication patterns, he said, they're not just sending information. They're selecting, filtering. Elena understood immediately. Whatever was happening wasn't random. The artifact was choosing, filtering, preparing. For what? Nobody knew. As night fell across the global communication center, the holographic displays continued their dance of light and information. Something was coming. Something that would change humanity forever. And they were about to receive their first true message from beyond. The celestial threshold. The research team gathered in the central briefing room, a space that now felt more like a war room than a scientific sanctuary. Ezra Blackwood, Nora Reyes, Zain Khalid, Alina Volkov, and a select group of the world's most brilliant minds sat in tense silence. The artifact had transformed. What began as a mysterious crystalline structure discovered in the Arctic had become something far more significant. A gateway, a communication device, or perhaps something humanity couldn't yet comprehend. The quantum signatures are stabilizing, Zain explained, his fingers tracing holographic projections that danced with impossible geometries. But it's not just communication. It's an invitation. Nora leaned forward, her eyes reflecting the complex light patterns emanating from the central display. An invitation to what? She asked, a question that had haunted them for weeks. The global communication networks had been transformed. Satellite systems, quantum computers, and research stations around the world were now interconnected by an invisible network that seemed to breathe with its own intelligence. The artifact was no longer just an object. It had become a living conduit. Elena's global communication logs showed a pattern emerging. Coordinates, mathematical sequences, and energy signatures that suggested something profound was about to happen. It's a threshold, Dr. Marcus Weaver said quietly. We're standing at the edge of something humanity has never encountered before. Suddenly, the holographic displays converged. A three-dimensional map expanded, showing star systems far beyond human exploration. But these weren't just images. They were alive, pulsing with an energy that suggested consciousness. The artifact began to resonate. A low hum filled the room, not from any speaker, but from the very air around them. The research team watched in awe as the crystalline structure began to transform, its surface shifting like liquid light. We're being evaluated, Ezra realized, his voice a mixture of scientific curiosity and primal wonder. Not threatened, evaluated. The holographic displays showed glimpses of extraordinary things, civilizations that had risen and fallen across cosmic distances, technologies that defied human understanding. A network of intelligence that spanned galaxies, and at the center of it all, an invitation. Not a threat, not a conquest, but an invitation to join something greater. The artifact's energy reached a crescendo. For a moment, the research team felt connected to something vast, an intelligence that saw humanity not as a threat, but as a potential, a species on the brink of a cosmic understanding. Then, as quickly as it began, everything stabilized. The holographic displays returned to normal. The artifact remained, but changed, no longer just a mysterious object, but a bridge. First contact, Nora whispered, isn't about invasion. It's about understanding. Outside the research facility, the world continued to turn. Most humans remained unaware of the profound moment that had just occurred. But everything had changed. Humanity stood at the threshold of something extraordinary, and the journey was just beginning.